Hello, CMS students and staff. We are just here, Mr. Tag and myself, the Deans of Students, to remind you of some rules and expectations here at CMS. You all did such a wonderful job of following rules and expectations when you were here in the fall and hybrid model, but we believe it's fair just to give you a reminder of some of those as we start back to school. So again, for those of you who are returning in hybrid, Mr. Tag is the 8th grade dean, Mrs. Myers is the 7th grade dean. Our offices are up by the front of the building in the main office, where you're also going to see us out and about a ton in the hallways and in the lunchrooms. So feel free to come and see us whenever you need to, or if you have questions. That applies for you too, for students who are EP Online. If a concern or question comes up, don't hesitate to reach out over email or phone call.
So as far as attendance is concerned, remember that in-person and virtual start times for hours 1 and 2 are at 8 a.m., hours 3 and 4 will be at 10 a.m., and hours 5 and 6 will be at 12:30. Obviously, anybody in lunch A will have to move that back to 10:30, but that would only be for lunch A students. Make sure that you're on time in person and online. When you do come in here in the morning off the bus, remember that breakfast is an option, and it will be in the 8th grade cafeteria from 7:40 to 7:50. If there are issues with attendance, we will be reaching out to you via email or phone to try to figure out what is going on and why we are not doing what we should be doing as far as being in class on time.
Before and after school. Again, because of our COVID and pandemic restrictions, we are not offering our typical after school activities, which is very disappointing. But there are some occasions where kids will be here after school. As far as arriving at school, you're either obviously going to take the bus or get dropped off at school. You will have your temperature taken inside the building every day when you arrive at school, with reminders to keep your mask on and do social distancing. If you're here before 7:40 in the morning, when you get dropped off, you will wait up in that main gym until you're dismissed back in the building, either to go to class or go to grab breakfast. After school, students who take the bus will go directly out to their buses. Students who get a ride home will again go up to the front gym, and either through text message from your parents or notification from a staff member, we will make you aware of when your parent is here and ready to pick you up. If you are here after school for any activity, you will be supervised by a staff person at all times until a parent arrives to take you home.
Reminder that these are our 4 student supervisors, so Mrs. Hawkins and Miss Alate. They, of course, are in the 8th grade cafeteria, but you'll see them in the hallways. And Mrs. Kelkbrenner and Mrs. Dreyer, of course, are in the 7th grade cafeteria. Some expectations as far as hallways are concerned. Please stay 6 feet apart. And of course, this is easy to do with all the red dots that are still on the floor, letting you know where 6 feet is at. You must wear your mask at all times. Follow and respond appropriately to all adult directions. It doesn't matter if you know the adult or not, you should always listen to the adult. Use an appropriate voice level and greet others positively, meaning the idea of there shouldn't be screaming in the hallways. Just talk to your friends at a normal level and everything will be fine. Keep your hands and feet to yourself. That is especially important in this time of COVID. And of course, keep the hallways clean. A big thing that you can do as far as hallways, everyone, is the idea of continuing to move. Don't just bunch up in certain sections of the halls and talk. Try to continue moving to your next class, and everything will be just fine.
This is Mrs. Gaslin. She works up in the planning room. You will also see her probably in the hallways and lunchroom a bit. There will still be times when you're here in class where maybe you just need a break. There's been some poor behavior choices, and a teacher or staff person may ask you to reflect on that as you are in and send you up to the planning room to do that. When you are there, Mrs. Gaslin is going to talk to you about a plan for improved behavior. You are most likely going to make contact with a parent while you're there to talk about your behavior choices, and then you either may remain there for the rest of the class period, or our hope is to get you back in class as soon as possible if your behavior demonstrates that you're ready to do that.
Dress code. Again, we must wear our masks at all times. We want you to dress appropriately. So if it does become a distraction in the classes, we will talk to you about changing that outfit or shirt or whatever so that it's not a distraction. Make sure you follow all staff directions about dress code. So if they're asking you a question about removing a hat in their class or getting your earbuds out or whatever, please listen. As far as clothing with obscene language or gang references or anything that's going to cause a disturbance in our school, we will ask that you not wear those items at school. Feel free to wear them on the weekends, but definitely not at school. And of course, anything that is culturally, racially, or gender insensitive are unacceptable.
Electronic devices. This is just a quick reminder about your cell phones. We know even in these pandemic times, our devices have probably become even more important to us, our personal devices, and you are allowed to have them at school. You just are not allowed to have them out in the hallway or in your classrooms unless directed to by a teacher. The one change this year is that we are allowing students to use their cell phones in the cafeterias just during lunchtime because you are having to sit in a socially distanced fashion. So, that's something that you can use to occupy your time in the lunchroom, but we still encourage socializing in person as much as possible. Again, though, as soon as you leave the lunchroom and on your way to lunch, those phones need to be put away. They should not be a distraction during learning time. That includes at home learning time as well. You should not be distracted by your cell phone. You should not be distracted by your cell phone when you're learning here at school. The only time you should be using headphones at school is, again, with permission in the lunchroom. And then also if you happen to be working on an assignment or activity in class where a teacher asks you to use your headphones for that assignment or activity. Otherwise, in the hallway and other locations, those headphones need to remain put away. And you are allowed to have your personal devices in your lunchroom, but you are not allowed to have your school-issued iPad in the lunchroom. We want to keep those safe from spills or drops, so please do not bring those things into the lunchroom. As far as your iPad go, again, your iPad has become an absolutely essential tool during this year of hybrid and distance learning. We want you to make safe choices with it. Please remember that your iPad, whether you are at home or at school, is monitored by our district server at all times. So our school district computer servers are aware of what sites and things that you are accessing on that device, so make sure they are school appropriate at all times. Misuse of your iPad, whether it's gaming or things like that, can result in restrictions on your device, which could have a significant impact on your ability to do your academic needs. So again, please remember that those school iPads are for school use only.
Talking about lunch again, obviously we're going to wait for a staff escort to come pick you up at your class and walk you down to the lunchroom. Obviously the desks in the lunchroom and chairs right now are already set up at 6 feet apart, so please don't move them when you come down. We do want you to pick up after yourself. Of course, sometimes this happens when you're walking your tray to the garbage cans. You may lose a wrapper or something. Just pay attention to things like that and pick it up and clean it up as best you can. Ask for permission if you got to go to the restroom or need to go back to your class because you forgot money or whatever it may be. Just please ask one of the adults if you can leave, and of course, we'll make sure we monitor that as well as we can. And then, of course, we are going to escort you back to class. So please walk with the adult. And when we call you in the lunchroom when it's time for you to go back, that you do move quickly so that we can get the lunchrooms cleaned and getting ready for the next lunch group that comes down.
And then finally, our last couple of slides, and you'll remember that from our presentation in the fall that this was much longer, but we just want to give a couple reminders about those things. You all generally do a great job of remembering that the CMS way is to be safe, responsible, and kind. That is very important at the core of who this community is. And so the reminders that Mr. Tagg and I want to give you related to harassment and bullying are kind of ask yourself, is what you're doing, the way you're acting, is it kind? Is it the way that you would want to be treated? And this applies to in-person interactions, online interactions, interactions with people you know, people you don't know. Ask yourself those questions. And if the answer is no, it's probably time to rethink that. Harassment and bullying are legal terms like sexual harassment, racial harassment, religious harassment. They are absolutely not tolerated at our school, and they will be investigated when they are reported to us and could result in significant consequences. In-person and cyberbullying is not allowed at CMS. That includes stuff over the iPad, stuff over your cell phone if it involves other CMS students. If you have concerns about that, your family has concerns about that, they should be reported to myself or Mr. Tagg or to a trusted teacher or other staff member so we can investigate that. So again, the good rule of thumb to ask yourself in all of your interactions in your life is the way you're acting kind, and is it the way that you would want to be treated? We hope that that answer is always yes, but if there's ever a time that it's no, we encourage you to really look hard at changing that behavior. There are ways to, like I said, to report behaviors at school. You can talk to Mr. Tagg or myself. You can talk to a trusted teacher or staff member. You could have your parents contact the school if that feels more comfortable. And you can come down to Mrs. Gaslin in the planning room and fill out a student concern form about a behavior concern. And then that will be turned over to the appropriate dean for investigation. Again, we want everyone to remember that the CMS way is to be safe, kind, and responsible. If we all remember that, we will have a successful remainder of this winter and this spring in this very unique school year. If you have any questions or concerns about anything in this presentation, do not hesitate to ask questions of your teachers, ask questions of us, to just let us know how we can help you. Thank you, and we are so glad you're back.